Some Blue Jackets had good years, some had bad years, some had ugly years. We're going to talk about all of that and more, but about Sean Kuraly today as we start our NHL season reviews for the Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jake Foster, here to bring you news, stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and also over on YouTube. So if you haven't hit subscribe over there, please feel free to do so. Helps you out, helps me out. You get notified when new episodes go live. I get to watch that number go up. Everybody wins. Today, we are talking about Sean Kuraly. I have decided that we might as well start our season review episodes. I want to try and get one episode per player, but the Blue Jackets used a lot of players this season, so we might not be able to do that, but I will do my very best, and we'll talk, players that are no longer with the team, players that are down in the A. Like, if they wore a Blue Jackets jersey this season, we'll do an episode on them. So shout out to Billy Sweezy, who did not get to have an episode last year because he warmed up but didn't play. So, but that's way down the line. Today, we are going to be talking about Sean Kuraly. I've decided to do this in numerical order: forwards, defensemen, and goalies. That's how I did it last season, and that worked out pretty well, I think. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing we're going to do here is just kind of look at his numbers this season. I would love to know what his average ice time was this season, because I feel like it was probably way higher than normal. So, hey, I found his total time on ice. Love that for me. So I can just do the math on that manually. Let's start off with the basic stats. Let's start there. Sean Kuraly played 71 games this season, had 11 goals, 9 assists, 20 points, was a minus 28, and had 68 penalty minutes, which I believe led the team in penalty minutes, which is... that sure is a thing that he did. He also had a face-off percentage of 49.6%. I feel like Sean Kuraly with face-offs, and this is something we'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on. I feel like with face-offs, what you get with Sean Kuraly is either 70% or 25%, and there's nowhere kind of in between those numbers, which is really frustrating. Some nights he has really good nights, some nights he has really bad nights, and I guess that's how we all work, but it's not an ideal way to play a game. I think consistency is something that I would like to see from Kuraly. In terms of other stats, I figured out his average time on ice was 12 minutes and 25 seconds, which seems low, but this is the most ice time he's had. So last season he had 986 time on ice minutes overall, but he played 6 extra games. This year, he had 870 minutes over 71 games, which is the second highest total ice time he's ever had. That feels too much for me. And again, I feel like the ice time being 12 is strange, because maybe this is just because I was looking for it, but it felt like he was on the ice a lot this season. And maybe it was just that he was on the ice a lot at key moments. So immediately before and after a goal is scored, or they killed a lot of penalties this season. He got a lot of time on the penalty kill. So that probably bumps the number up. He didn't get a ton of power play time, which probably bumps it down, but the Blue Jackets don't draw a lot of penalties anyway. So I'm unsurprised that is what's happening. In terms of his other stats, he finished the season with a 41.7 Corsi for percentage, and he was one shot attempt away from allowing 1,000 shot attempts while he's on the ice, which is not great, but is a fun round number that I enjoyed. 23 goals on the ice, 4 when he's on the ice, 55 against. Like plus minus is kind of a useless stat, but it is what it is. Overall, Sean Kuraly has had a weird season, and I feel bad, and I feel like I've kind of been ragging on the guy a little bit. And I feel like a lot of the issues that we had this season, and when I say we, I mean him and me, obviously, close personal friend Sean Kuraly. I feel like a lot of the issues we had were that he was playing above his station. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a minute. But first, I've got to tell you all about Built Bar because something super exciting is coming to Built.com on April 22nd. I don't have the details yet, so I can't tell you anything, but the excitement is real for me, for all of my Locked On colleagues. It's something you're not going to want to miss. If you know how Built works, they have these incredible protein bars in the world. They're the best. They do these amazing flavor drops with unreal flavors in limited quantity. I'm still making my way through my lemon cheesecake ones that I don't think are available anymore, and they are good as hell. So mark your calendars, head to built.com on Saturday, April 22nd to be one of the first to discover what all of the hype is about. I can't wait to see what this new flavor is. I'm sure you're excited as well. Make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON15 and you will get 15% off your order. Once again, that is built.com, LOCKEDON15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Let's get back to Sean Kuraly. Sean Kuraly had a decent season. He got, like I said, 20 points. He's making, I think, $2.5 million against the cap, and will do so for the next 2 years. The next 2 seasons. So he's making 2.5 million at the minute. So 20 points from your 2.5 million guy. Like I think you'd want closer to 30, but I'm not unhappy with 10 goals from Sean Kuraly or 11 goals or whatever it was. My problem is he was playing at times they were matching him up against the other team's second line or sometimes their first line, and he was being billed as this kind of shutdown center. And there was that shutdown line of him and Robinson and Olivier, and they didn't really do a lot of shutting down. And it's not Kuraly's fault. He's been told to get on the ice. What's he going to do? Be like, no, let someone else play. It's frustrating to watch, and part of that again is injuries. Like the Blue Jackets had 2 NHL centers on the roster by the end of the season. Like Kuraly was, for better or worse, probably one of the only 3 NHL centers that this team had this season. And so whenever there was an injury or something else, it was, okay, well, we'll just bump Kuraly up. He finished the season on the top line between Gaudreau and Marchenko, Jenna was out. Rostovic was getting bumped up and down the lineup. Sillinger was in the AHL. Johnson was playing on the wing. Like, when you've got second-line center Hunter McCown, it feels like that's kind of a problem. But for the most part, like I said, I don't really have a problem with how Kuraly plays necessarily. It's that he was playing too much, and I think when you play a player too much, they get ineffective. It's the same argument that I have for play. Like, imagine how good someone that plays 25 minutes a night could be if they only had to play 20. If you play Sean Kuraly 8 minutes a night, 8 to 10 minutes a night, imagine how much of a pain in the butt he's going to be for those 8 to 10 minutes, because he knows that's the only ice time he's getting. He's got to make it count while he's out there. I would like fewer penalty minutes from him, but I feel like that's true of basically everyone, because I feel like the ideal is 0, in terms of specific penalties, it was 23 minors and a misconduct, which I was surprised by. I was sure he'd had a couple of fights this season. He did draw 13 penalties as well, which is always good. I love it when players draw penalties. Don't like it so much when they take them. The key thing for me as well with the penalties is Sean Kuraly is a big part of the penalty kill, which is a problem when you are in the box. So it's not ideal if one of your key penalty killers is in the box. That just feels like, so he killed 160 minutes of penalties this season. So what was his ice time? It was 780. So 520, 620 minutes of that were at not penalty kill time. His penalty kill was 21 goals were allowed in those 160 minutes. Two shorthanded goals happened. I don't believe either of them were him, but I don't know that I have shorthanded goals anywhere on my list of stats. I don't. That's fine. Oh no, I do. There it is. So he had one shorthanded goal, one primary assist on a shorthanded goal, and allowed 21 goals on the penalty kill, which seems fine. Not great, but fine. The expected goals against was 22.3. So there was fewer goals allowed while he was on the ice than expected. So I'm going to go ahead and call that a victory. But next season from Sean Kuraly, what I would like to see is fewer penalties, because I think he can be a very effective penalty killer if he's not in the box. In a minute, we're going to continue. We're going to talk a little bit more about Sean Kuraly as a player and what else I would like to see from him this season, next season. And we're also going to give him a grade for this season because I forgot to do that. But we'll do that in just a minute. I've got to tell you about eBay Motors, because for a championship team, it's about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head on over to eBay Motors. With eBay's guaranteed fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage, look for the green check to know the part will fit, or you're going to get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. It's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Okay, let's talk about what else I would like to see from Sean Kuraly in the upcoming season. My expectations for Sean Kuraly are mostly for him to do what he's doing now, but just do it less. I think a lot of my issues with Sean Kuraly are coaching ones. I think it'll be really interesting to see what kind of ice time he gets under a different coach, because that was Brad Larsen's line. And I don't know whether that was, again, he was looking for consistency. That was the kind of role that Brad Larsen played when he was playing. And so I don't know if it's just a case of that mentality of you need guys that go out there and throw hits and are tough to play against instead of, players that are going to go out there and score goals. This is not to say that Sean Kuraly is not tough to play against, but I'm going to be really interested to see what he does under a different coach that maybe doesn't put him out there with, 2 minutes left in the game if they need to score a goal. Because I think there's a lot of benefit to the kind of game that Sean Kuraly plays in terms of, like I said, just being a pain in the butt, making it hard for the other team. Like, what you want from Sean Kuraly is not 20 or 30 goals. What you want from Sean Kuraly is for the other team to get tired, for the other team to spend a lot of time in their defensive zone, and then you swap that line out with a scoring line, and hey presto, they've got tired guys on the ice. Sean Kuraly is sitting on the bench, feeling smug about being a pain in the butt. Like, that's the perfect role for a guy like Kuraly, and I think there is a space for him on this team to do that. Because this team is a very, very, again, when it's healthy, when everyone is performing to potential, this is a very highly skilled team. And I do think you need a line like that. Like, I feel like a lot of this season, I've been talking about this, like, oh, why do we need grinders in hockey? And I understand why you need grinders in hockey. It's the way that the game is played at the minute. I think it's changing. I think you are getting more towards having 4 scoring lines, but right now you need to have a checking line. If your checking line can also score, that's perfect. And if you can get, between Kuraly, Eric Robinson, and Mathieu Olivier, I believe they had like 25 goals between them ish. Maybe a few more. That's pretty good for a fourth line, in my opinion. The trick will be not paying too much for your fourth line. So Olivier's a UFA or an RFA, excuse me. So I assume that he'll be back. I wouldn't want him to make much more than he's making right now, which is $750,000. Eric Robinson is making 1.6 next season, and then is a UFA, and Kuraly is making 2.5 for the next 2 years. So that's what, if you give Olivier $1 million, that is 4 point. That is $5 million on your fourth line, which seems a little high, but not like overly. So the Blue Jackets have some cap space to play with. But to kind of sum up, we'll finish up this little season in review. The consensus on the Twitter poll I did was that Sean Kuraly should get a B for his work this season. I'm not going to be quite that generous. I'm going to give him a C. I would have liked to see more of what he's good at and less of what he's not good at, if that makes sense. I would like to see fewer penalties. I would like to see more face-off wins. I would like to see less allowing goals, which I think is something that will come with a different coach that doesn't throw them out on the ice against the other team's top line and then act surprised when they get torched by that. So overall, I'm going to give him a C, but I'm expecting better things from Kuraly next season. I think give him less ice time and he'll really shine in those limited minutes that you give him. And that's kind of all I've got for today. Tomorrow we're going to continue on. We're going to keep rolling with these season reviews. I don't know who we're going to talk about because I don't know how numbers work. It'll be a surprise for everyone, including me. I've got no idea who it's going to be. Maybe Gaudreau at number 13. I don't know. I'll have to consult my list of numbers that I don't have with me. But thank you for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available. We are on all podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. Please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Please comment below. Hit the little bell button. You'll get notified when new episodes go live. And I appreciate you. If you're an everydayer and this is your 8th episode of the week, I appreciate you. If you're new here, this is your first episode of the week, I appreciate you as well. But stop by tomorrow, and maybe you will become an everydayer just like that. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jacket. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.